Hello and welcome back. This is Muji, and in today's episode, we are using Lightroom to edit a street photography scene. I have got a beautiful image in front of me from Florence, and I will take you from scratch to a fully post-processed image. So let's get cracking. Firstly, I check the lens corrections. I also zoom into the image and see if I need to remove the noise. Then I go for cropping. And the first thing that I do is changing the white balance. I do some global corrections. I actually break an image into different parts. In this case, we only have two layers. One is the foreground, which is the beautiful couple standing in the rain, leaning into each other, a little bit of a romantic moment. And then we have the background. We are in the develop module, so let's start with the lens corrections first. Remove chromatic aberration and enable profile correction. That has stretched the image a little bit. We have lost a few pixels, but that is fine because the vignette is gone and we can add the vignette later on by ourselves if needed. Then we are going to move to detail section. If we like, we can remove the noise. If I zoom in, there is a little bit of noise in this image because this image was shot at ISO 800. But sometimes to keep the noise and have the grain in the image is good. This is an image in which I do not need sharp details, so I'm not gonna remove the noise from this image. Let's move on to the cropping. Because I want to put this image on Instagram, let's go with 4:5 cropping. And here we go. I am not gonna reduce the crop like this or this, because there is a good amount of breathing space on each side and they are right in the middle. As you can see, it's time to make global adjustments in the basic panel. So the first thing is that I will change the white balance. We can make it warm or we can make it cool, and I am inclined towards making it cool because this is a little bit of a romantic scene and rainy weather, so I want to give it that cool touch. Here you go. I don't want to make it too cool. There is already quite a bit of blue here in the jeans and in the suitcase as well. We can always change the white balance later. Now let's do some global adjustments. This section is quite bright. I want to get rid of this brightness and reduce the highlights. Almost everything in this scene is visible because we have reduced the highlights. The next thing I do is I decrease the shadows by moving the slider towards the right side. As I'm decreasing the shadows, the people here are becoming more prominent. A good image has got texture, contrast, and shapes. By decreasing the highlights and removing the shadows, we have actually made the image flat. There is hardly any contrast left in it. There is a masking option in Lightroom. If I click on it, I don't have any masks created or layers created. Lightroom gives me AI-based options to select the subject, the sky, the background, landscape elements, or other objects. Instead of creating masks and selecting people individually by yourself, you are using AI to shorten your editing time. I can select people over here and you can see that it is doing an incomplete job, and the jacket of this lady is also not fully selected. Or you can use the subject selection option. I'm still gonna go with people selection option over here, and I'm gonna say create a mask. Once the mask has been created, we know that the mask is not complete. I'm going to rename the mask to say the people. How do we select these as part of our foreground? So there are a few options. If we select the people mask over here, we can add or subtract from this. So I'm going to use a brush to add into the mask. When you select the brush, then this circle will appear. I'm going to zoom in now a little bit to paint over this suitcase. What you will notice is that there is an auto mask option selected over here. Auto mask option, when you are painting over an object, recognizes the border between two elements. So the border here is the edge of the suitcase and the floor here is not required to be selected. So if you slowly paint over here, the floor is not selected, although the brush is slightly over it. And then we are going to select the body of the person. Now that we have the people mask, all we have to do is duplicate and invert this mask to select the background. And I'm going to now rename this to the background. We will start editing the background first, and the first step is to reduce the exposure. We have reduced the exposure, but we should add a little bit of contrast as well. The foreground and the background seem to be blending in at the moment, and do not worry about that because we will treat the foreground in a bit. After changing the exposure, we can change the highlights if we want to. We can increase the highlights or decrease the highlights, or we can reduce or increase the shadows as well. What I like to do is I go to the tone curve. This tone curve doesn't belong to the entire image. We have selected the background over here and we are going to add contrast, and tone curve is meant to do that. And what we do is we create an S curve. So we create a point here, we create a point here, and we create a point here. The graph actually represents the distribution of light. These are the dark areas, these are the bright areas, and these are the midtones. So in order to create contrast, we increase the shadows by bringing this point down, and it's increasing the shadows, and we increase the highlights by bringing this point up. So if I show you before and after now, you can see that before creating the contrast, the background looked like this with reduced exposure, but now we have added contrast. Let's do the same to the people layer. We are going to create 3 points. If you do not want to create 3 points, you can always go to the preset and create a medium contrast or strong contrast. So I'm gonna go for medium contrast now. You still have control and you can reduce or increase the shadows as per your liking. So if I now show you before and after of the people tone curve, you can see that there is no contrast and now there is contrast added. The point of editing these two layers separately is that you can increase or decrease the contrast, change the tone, the colors as per your liking. Now that we have treated the contrast for both layers separately, there is one thing very obvious to me. People here are still going into the background and blending in. I'm gonna go to the background. Firstly, I'm gonna increase the exposure so slightly because I have realized that I made it a bit too dark. And then I'm going to change the white balance. Because the background is blue, the foreground is blue, everything is blending in. I'm going to make it a bit warm, and I'm going to reduce the saturation, which means that the background colors will be now a little bit less saturated. And if I show you before and after, wow, it has made a huge difference. The background is now separate from the foreground. I feel that I have added too much shadows and I need to reduce that. Click on this point and bring it up, and I'm going to click on this point and bring it up again. I feel that I can reduce the highlights a little bit globally. Here you go. I feel that I need to increase the temperature a little bit more in the background, and I'm going to do that. If you have selected a layer, for example the background, there is an effects section over here as well. You can reduce or increase the texture, clarity, and dehaze options as well. The background has got a lot of texture and I want to make it a bit soft. I'm going to reduce the texture here. I want to decrease the clarity and make the background a bit soft. Same goes with dehaze, and I can just make it a little bit soft over here. This is before and this is after using the effects panel. We have a little bit of a softer background. Now we are going to select the people's layer and do the same thing. If I increase the texture over here, the people will stand out a bit more. Clarity, I'm actually going to reduce the clarity a little bit, making it soft. After using the effects panel, we can close the masking option over here, and I come down normally to the tone curve section and add a little bit of a contrast into the entire image as a whole so that the look and feel is the same. You need to decide what colors you want and what colors you do not want in the image. The HSL panel or the color mixer allows you to change the saturation, hue, and luminance selectively. The color temperature we gave in the beginning of cool is a little bit too much in the foreground, and we can reduce the blues from the scene. I'm gonna go to the blue slider. Here you go. If you do not know how to change the colors, you can click on this dot. For example, if I go here and click here and keep my mouse clicked but drag it up or down, you can reduce or increase the saturation. So I'm going to bring it down, and you can see on the sliders on the right side, the green color is completely going down and the saturation is being reduced. If I click on the suitcase and make it a little bit less intense so that the blue kind of remains the theme. So this is the color grading section, and you can add colors to the shadows, highlights, and the midtones. So naturally, shadows normally are blue, and this is what the artists and the painters do as well. I'm going to click here and increase the blue tone in the shadows. You can make it pink, red, yellow, green. This is a personal choice, but I am going to increase the blues here in the shadows. And if I were to show you before and after, you can see the background and the foreground have got a little bit of tone of blue. If you look here, these are the shadow areas. And if I show you the before, this is pure black in the foreground, the jackets. But after adding blues to the shadows, the jackets have become a little bit blue. And I like this because the background and the foreground are nicely blending into each other now. The highlights, I would like to go towards red and yellow because the blue is in the shadows, so we would like to add the opposite color. And if I click here and go a little bit towards the yellow side, now the highlights have got the yellow color. Before, after. So there is slight warmth, but also the blue color is more intense. I'm going to leave the midtones as they are. So for me, we have separated the background from the foreground, but there are distractions. For example, this post over here, the umbrella, and this over here. We have this remove option, and you can use AI by clicking on this button to say, I want to use generative AI to get rid of my distractions. If you click on remove, then the mouse has a circle over here which you can increase or decrease. And I'm going to paint over here and say, well, I do not want this over here, so please remove it. Once AI has removed it, then you can zoom in and see that it has done a very good job. Even the raindrops are here, but AI also gives you a few options. So you can go through these options and choose which one you like the most. To be honest, I like option number 1. I can remove the umbrella now because that is also distracting. I find these to be annoying as well. There is one more thing that I am going to do, and that is a personal preference. I'm going to right click and open this image in Photoshop. We have the image in Photoshop now. I have these rain overlays, which are the raindrops downloaded from a website called Envato Elements. I'm going to drag this over my image, and this is how it's gonna look. Do not worry about that. Expand these raindrops. You can see that there are raindrops over here. And then if you select the layer rain and go to screen, then you can see that the raindrops have become visible. These are not the raindrops from the actual scene or the photo, but these are the raindrops that are from the overlay JPEG image that I have imported. So here you go, folks. This is how our final image looks. Drop your questions and comments in the section below, and I will get back to you. If you want me to edit more of my photos, I will do that gladly for you. If you just want me to focus on a certain aspect of Lightroom, I'm happy to help here. Subscribe, hit the like button, do all the nice things that are required to be done for me to have a channel that is growing, and I will see you in the next one. Khudai Paman.